Most people over 70 are told the same thing. Drink water when you feel thirsty. It sounds sensible. It sounds safe. But here is what nobody tells you. After 70, thirst alone does not protect your independence. Research published in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at healthy older men after a full day without water. They were measurably dehydrated, and they still reported almost no thirst at all. Geriatric wards see the result of that every single day. Today, I'm going to give you 5 things to drink that hydrate an older body better than plain water does. And I am going to explain the one signal failure that a 12-minute appointment never has time to mention. The number 1 item on this list is something almost nobody talks about. Stay with me until the end, because that one can change how you approach the next 10 years. Think about your last appointment. You had about 12 minutes. Most of that went to your blood pressure, your medication list, and whatever brought you in that day. Hydration is not a diagnosis, so it never gets its own line on the chart. It gets one sentence on the way out the door, and that sentence is usually drink more water. Nobody has time to ask when you drink, what you drink, or whether your body is still able to tell you that you need it. I am not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into a course. This channel exists to give you the science a 12-minute appointment never has time to cover. There is nothing to buy in this video. Every single item on this list is already sitting in an ordinary grocery store. This matters because dehydration in an older body does not announce itself as thirst. It announces itself as dizziness when you stand up out of a chair. And dizziness when you stand is how independent people become people who need help getting to the bathroom. So before we go on, tell me 2 things in the comments: your age and how many actual drinks you had yesterday before noon. Please do not skip this section. It is the key to everything that follows. After about age 70, 3 things change at once, and they all point in the same direction. Your total body water drops, so you are carrying a smaller reserve than you did at 50. Your kidneys lose some of their ability to concentrate urine, so you lose more water even when you are already running low. And the sensors in your brain that trigger thirst become less sensitive, so the warning arrives late or never arrives at all. Picture your body as a house with a water tank in the basement. At 50, that tank was large, the pipes were tight, and a float switch upstairs told you the moment the level dropped. After 70, 3 things happened to that house. The tank got smaller, a slow drip started at the outflow, and the float switch stuck in place. The water level is falling, and the gauge on the wall still reads half full. Thirst is not a warning system after 70. It is a broken gauge. Hydration is not instinct anymore. It is scheduling. If this is already making sense to you, tap the like button so more seniors can find it. It is the only thing I will ask of you until the very end. Number 5 is warm broth. Not a stock cube dissolved in hot water, but real broth, chicken or vegetable, served warm in a mug. Here is why broth beats a glass of water in an older body. Water alone is only half of hydration. The other half is sodium, because sodium holds water inside your bloodstream instead of letting it pass straight through to your bladder. Think of sodium as a sponge and water as rain. Rain on concrete runs off in minutes, but rain on a sponge stays exactly where you put it. This is why every rehydration fluid used in a hospital contains salt and not just water. Large clinical studies on fluid balance have shown the same thing for decades. So here is the protocol. 1 cup of broth, about 8 ounces, in the middle of the afternoon between 2 and 4 o'clock. That is the window when older adults drink the least and when afternoon dizziness is most common. Use a low-sodium broth as your base if you have been told to watch your salt. Serve it warm rather than hot, because warm liquid is easier to finish, and older adults reliably drink more of it. The mistake almost everyone makes is treating broth as food, so they have it instead of a drink rather than in addition to one. If you have heart failure, kidney disease, high blood pressure, or you take a water pill, do not add salt to anything before you talk to your doctor. Sit upright in a chair while you drink, and sip rather than gulp. If you cough or your voice sounds wet afterwards, stop and tell your doctor, because that is a swallowing question and not a hydration question. And if your ankles swell or you become short of breath, stop the extra fluid and call your doctor that same day. Pair your afternoon broth with a small handful of unsalted nuts. The protein and fat slow how fast fluid leaves your stomach, which means more of it is absorbed instead of rushing through. Fluid absorbed slowly is fluid your body actually keeps, but broth solves an afternoon problem. It does nothing for the other 20 hours of your day, and it cannot help you on the days when the thought of drinking anything makes you tired. For that, we need fluid that does not feel like drinking. Put your hand flat on the back of your other forearm. If the skin feels dry and papery, that is not only age, that is very often water. And keep item number 1 in mind as we go, because it is a drink most people over 70 quietly gave up years ago. Number 4 is the soup first rule, and the water-rich foods that go with it. I mean a bowl of broth-based soup before your main meal, plus melon, cucumber, tomatoes, oranges, and plain yogurt through the day. Between 1/5 and 1/3 of everything you take in arrives from food, not from cups. And fluid that arrives inside food behaves differently once it is in you. Food slows the stomach, so water is released into your system in a steady trickle rather than a flood. Think of the difference between tipping a bucket onto a dry garden and running a soaker hose along it. The bucket runs off the surface and the hose soaks in. National nutrition surveys in the United States and Britain have consistently found this same food contribution to daily fluid intake. It is one of the most reliable numbers in the field. Here is the protocol. 1 bowl of broth-based soup, about 10 ounces, before the largest meal of your day, 5 days a week. Then 2 servings of water-rich food, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. A serving is 1 cup of melon, 1 medium orange, half a cucumber, or 6 ounces of plain yogurt. Build up over 2 weeks rather than starting all 5 soup days at once, because a sudden jump in fluid can mean a broken night. The mistake here is reaching for creamy soups, which are heavy, filling, and tend to crowd out the rest of the meal. Sit fully upright at a table for soup, never in a recliner and never in bed. Take small spoonfuls and put the spoon down between them. If you have diabetes, count the melon and the orange inside your carbohydrate for that meal. And if any food makes you cough or feel like something is stuck, stop and have your swallowing checked before you carry on. Pair the soup with the broth from item 5 by using the same pot. Make 1 batch, drink 1 cup of it in the afternoon, and use the rest as the base for dinner. 1 preparation, 2 hydration moments, no extra work. But food and soup both depend on appetite, and appetite is exactly what shrinks after 70. On the days you do not feel like eating, you need something you will finish without thinking about it. That is what comes next. And it is the one item people wrongly believe does not count at all. Number 3 is tea, and I mean real tea, black, green, or herbal, served warm. This is the item most people over 70 have been told does not count. You have probably heard that tea dehydrates you because of the caffeine. At the amounts in 2 or 3 cups a day, that is simply not true. Caffeine does have a mild effect on the kidneys, but the water in the cup is far larger than the water that effect removes. It is like carrying a bucket with a pinhole in it in from a full tap. You still arrive with almost a full bucket. Controlled studies comparing tea drinkers with water drinkers have found no meaningful difference in hydration status. This has been tested repeatedly, and the answer has not changed. Here is the protocol. 2 to 3 cups a day, 8 ounces each, at fixed times rather than random ones. Make one of them mid-morning around 10 o'clock, because that is the longest dry stretch in most older adults' day. Switch to decaffeinated or herbal after 2 in the afternoon so your sleep is not disturbed. Add 2 tablespoons of milk if you like it that way, and you will hear in a few minutes why that small addition matters far more than it looks. The mistake people make is letting the cup go cold and leaving half of it, so pour a smaller cup and finish it. Use a wide mug with a solid handle rather than thin china and fill it 2/3 full so it does not spill when you carry it. Better still, sit down first and let the cup come to you. If you take thyroid medication or iron tablets, keep tea at least an hour away from them, because tea reduces how much iron you absorb. And if tea gives you heartburn when you lie down, stop drinking it after 6 in the evening. Pair your mid-morning tea with the water-rich fruit from item 4. Have the orange alongside the tea rather than on its own. 1 sitting, 1 habit to remember, 2 sources of fluid arriving together. But tea handles ordinary days. It is not enough on a hot afternoon after a stomach upset, or on the day you finally spend 3 hours in the garden. On those days, your body loses salt as well as water, and plain fluid cannot put that back. Stand up from your chair right now, slowly, and notice what happens in the first 3 seconds. If the room moves at all, remember that feeling, because item number 1 is the one that changes it. Number 2 is a homemade rehydration drink. 2 cups of water, half a cup of 100% orange juice, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ordinary table salt. This is not a health fad. It is one of the most tested formulas in medicine. Your gut has doorways that only open when sodium and sugar arrive together. When they do, water is pulled across the wall of the intestine with them, far faster than water alone can cross. Picture a turnstile that needs 2 tokens at once. Give it only water, and it will not turn, but give it salt and sugar together, and it spins. This is the principle behind the oral rehydration solutions used by the World Health Organization. It is widely described as one of the most important medical advances of the last century. Here is the protocol. Mix the 3 ingredients in a jug and drink it over 30 to 45 minutes, never in one go. Use it on 3 occasions only. Any day above 80 degrees, the day after a stomach upset, and after any activity that leaves your shirt damp. That is perhaps 1 to 3 times a week in summer and almost never in winter. Make it fresh and keep it no longer than 24 hours in the refrigerator. The mistake people make is drinking it daily as a general tonic, which adds salt and sugar you simply do not need on an ordinary day. If you have heart failure, kidney disease, or you are on a fluid or salt restriction, do not make this at all until your doctor tells you what amount is safe for you. If you have diabetes, use half the juice and check your sugar as you normally would. Sit down while you drink it and keep the jug on the counter rather than carrying it around the house. And if your heart races, your ankles swell, or you become breathless, stop and call your doctor the same day. Pair it with shade and timing rather than with another drink. Make it in the morning before the heat arrives and sip it through the hours you would normally be outside. Fluid works far better going in before the loss than chasing it afterwards. But everything so far has been a repair. Broth for the afternoon, soup for appetite, tea for routine, and this for the hard days. None of them touches the underlying problem, which is that your body is now holding less water in total because it is losing the tissue that used to store it. Number 1 is milk. Ordinary cow's milk, skimmed, semi-skimmed or whole, or fortified soy milk if you do not drink dairy. This is the item almost nobody talks about, and here is why it sits at the top. Researchers at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland did something that had never properly been done before. They measured how much fluid people still held in the body hours after drinking, rather than how much went in. They called it the beverage hydration index. Plain still water was the reference point, and milk scored higher than water did. Milk arrives with 3 things water does not have. It has sodium and potassium, which hold fluid in your tissues instead of sending it straight to your bladder. It has protein and fat, which slow the stomach so the fluid is released gradually. And it has lactose, a sugar, which opens those same intestinal doorways we talked about a moment ago. Go back to that house in the basement. Plain water is a hose aimed at an open drain. Milk is the same hose, except somebody closed the drain first. That work was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It has been discussed and repeated widely since, and it matters most for exactly the people watching this, because an older body has the least margin to spare for fluid that passes straight through. Here's the protocol, and it is the fullest one on this list. 2 cups of milk a day, 8 ounces each at 2 fixed times. The first goes with breakfast, within 30 minutes of waking, because the overnight stretch is the longest dry period you have. The second goes at 3 in the afternoon, in the same window where broth lives, on the days you are not having broth. Choose whichever fat level you already prefer, because the hydration effect is similar across all of them. Those 2 cups also deliver roughly 16 grams of protein, which matters as much as the fluid does. If you use fortified soy milk, check that the carton actually says fortified and choose the unsweetened version. Almond milk is not a substitute here because it has almost no protein and very little of what makes milk work. Build up from 1 cup to 2 across a week rather than starting with both. And the mistake nearly everyone makes is putting milk only in tea and coffee, 2 tablespoons at a time, and counting that as milk in their diet. If milk gives you bloating, cramping, or wind, you are likely lactose intolerant, and lactose-free milk has the same protein, the same minerals, and the same effect. If you have kidney disease, milk is high in potassium and phosphorus, so do not add 2 cups a day until your doctor or kidney dietitian tells you your limit. If you take thyroid medication or certain antibiotics, keep milk at least 2 hours away from the tablet because calcium blocks absorption. Drink it sitting upright in a wide glass you can hold in one hand without straining. Do not have the second cup after 7 in the evening because getting up in the dark to use the bathroom is one of the most common ways older adults break a hip. And if milk ever leaves you wheezy, breathless, or with a rash, stop completely and speak to your doctor before you try it again. Pair the afternoon cup with effort, not with another drink. Have it within 30 minutes of the hardest physical thing you do that day, whether that is a walk, the stairs, or 10 sit-to-stands from a kitchen chair. Fluid and protein arriving together in that window is when muscle actually rebuilds, and muscle is the whole point here. So here's the payoff I promised you at the start. Muscle tissue is about 3/4 water, which makes your muscle the largest water reservoir you own. After 70, an inactive adult loses roughly 1 to 2% of that muscle every year, and every pound lost is storage lost with it. That is why thirst, fluid, and independence are one conversation, and not three. Water fills you for an hour. Milk holds you for the afternoon. Muscle carries you for the next 10 years. Consider a typical case of the kind documented again and again in the rehabilitation literature. A 74-year-old woman living alone, independent, with no falls on record. Over 8 months, she became dizzy standing up from her armchair, had 2 near falls in her hallway, and was constipated most days. Her family thought she was becoming confused in the late afternoon, and they had quietly started talking about whether she should still be on her own. Nothing about her medication changed, and nothing about her diagnosis changed. What changed was the shape of her day. She started 1 cup of milk at breakfast and 1 at 3 in the afternoon. She added a bowl of broth-based soup before dinner 5 nights a week and 2 cups of tea at fixed times. And she stopped all fluid after 7 in the evening, so the night stayed quiet. Within 3 weeks, the afternoon fog was gone. Within 6 weeks, she was standing up out of the armchair without the room moving. Her constipation resolved without a single new tablet. And the conversation about whether she could stay in her own home simply stopped. So here is exactly what to do, and there are only 5 things, tonight and then this week. Tonight, put 1 glass beside your bed and 1 beside your chair, and fill both before you sit down. That is 2 glasses placed, not 2 glasses drunk, and placement is what actually gets fluid into you. A glass you have to walk to is a glass you will not drink. Tomorrow morning, have 1 cup of milk within 30 minutes of waking, before your tea or coffee. That single cup closes the longest dry stretch in your entire day. Keep it 30 minutes clear of your morning tablets if your pharmacist has told you to. This week, set 3 fixed drinking times, 10 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and 6 in the evening. Fixed times replace a broken thirst signal, which is the whole point of everything we have covered. Write those 3 times on a card and put it on the fridge door where you will actually see it. Also this week, put 1 bowl of broth-based soup in front of your largest meal, 5 nights out of 7. Make the batch on a Sunday and you have handled 5 days in 1 hour. And every single day, stop all fluid 2 hours before bed and keep the path to your bathroom lit. More in the day and less at night is not a compromise. It is the safest version of this entire plan. Think of someone in your life who has been getting quietly more tired, more confused in the afternoons, or more unsteady on their feet. It may not be their memory, and it may not simply be their age. Send them this video because this is one of the very few things that can turn around in 3 weeks. Tell me in the comments which of these you are starting tonight. Your answers decide exactly what I cover next. And if you want the science that a 12-minute appointment never has room for, subscribe to this channel. That is the entire reason it exists. This video is education, not a diagnosis. Your own doctor knows your history, so bring this list to your next appointment. I'm Bennett Thorne. Don't forget to subscribe and live longer.